For the moment, though, I think we should keep things status quo, and then, as Dustin suggested, perhaps incrementally change things down the road. Thank you.
I wouldn't be looking for a raise or the health care. Actually, I'm going to be donating my salary if elected on the city council. I plan on starting a nonprofit to support our youth that I keep preaching about because our city's not doing enough at the moment. I'm going to donate to the nonprofit until it's self-sustained. So I'm not here for the money, and if I do get a raise, I'm still going to donate it.
As has already been stated, those of us who are already in the position, we know how much time and effort we put in. It's supposed to be a part-time job, but after working all day, and I've got a 12-year-old son, and it doesn't end up being part-time. So my day ends usually at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. When I vote to give myself a raise, I'm not quite that stupid. Do I think we should be compensated? I think what we're being compensated it does work for what we're doing. Thank you.
I think the key word in this situation is consistency. And we're part-time employees of the city right now, yet we're receiving full-time health benefits are available to us. So I would be in favor of removing that. I think it goes back to, just like I said, the other part-time employees that work for the city of Elgin don't have this benefit, and yet we do. And so I think this is a situation similar to what's being addressed down at the Kane County Board. I think I'm right in step with wanting to remove that benefit for future for future councils.
Whether due to perceptions or reality of differences in the U46 schools, many residents seek reform in its schools, and prospective residents often opt to buy homes in areas of the city outside U46. What should or could the city specifically do to reform the public schools in U46, and how will these plans be carried out?
Boy, that's sure the question I wanted. Well, I'm a U46 alumni. I love the schools here. I love the history here. The schools have changed. I hear the comments all the time of people that are happy, people that aren't happy. The fact that not enough people go to the school board meetings, if the city could maybe work with the school board more, bring them into more meetings, more interaction. I think that the awareness of what goes on within the U46 board probably needs to be brought to light more.
I'll piggyback off of Steve's comment. There needs to be more engagement. However, people are working more. Everything for the cost of living is going up. So we need a way to streamline accessibility to our public documents. So something that I've been pushing since I've been on the strategic planning committee is that the city partners with ClearGov. It's an organization that benchmarks us against every other community in the state, across the country, communities of similar size, and they also offer that to school districts. So we need to unify how our budget process is handled at the city level, the school district level, community colleges. Once we have the ability to see where we actually stand, then we can identify the problems and make a strategic decision to move forward.
I think one of the major things is that we all need to realize 60% of our tax bill goes to U46, and we need to be more involved in these elections, again, at a local level that affect us more day to day than anything else. So I think as a community, I would push, if I were on the council, for us to be more involved and be more aware as citizens of what our school board is doing. I currently work at U46, so I have a little bit of perspective, but I'll tell you that in my other 30 seconds.
I've had some friends and some people that have moved out of Elgin because of their perception of U46, and it troubles me, and it still troubles me. I try to be as positive as I can about the school district and a lot of the improvements that they've attempted to make and have made and been successful. So as a future council member, hopefully, I would certainly be positive in everything that I do and say about U46. Thank you.
I was just reading that U46 is starting like a career side of their high school programs. which I really agree in, because I know when I was going to Larkin, I really enjoyed doing the CAD, the auto classes, because it gives you an aspect of what you want to do in college or what you want to do after high school if you don't want to go to college. So if we continue putting more of these tech classes and these hands-on classes, we'll put kids more active.
As a proud parent of a U46 student, I think our biggest problem is ourselves. We speak negatively about U46. We speak negatively about Elgin, and everybody else hears that. And Elgin is tied to U46. When people say U46, they don't think Streamwood, they don't think Hanover Park, they think Elgin. So I think we have to start with ourselves. We have the Alignment Collaborative that I think is a great start for the city and the school districts and the business community to work together to improve educational opportunities. And I think we need to work on an image campaign jointly together. Thank you.
Well, I think this is a great question for the U46 school board race, not for the Elgin City Council members. I think, like Tish, I think we do need to be positive, especially as a public official. You know, I know my words have some weight, and so I do need to be careful about, you know, what I say publicly. I think there's been some efforts to change some of the curriculum to be job-specific training, so to prepare students to take jobs right out of high school. I support those types of programs. I think all of us did comment about some of the funding that we see some of the high tax dollars. I think that's always a challenge for that elected body.
To try to answer in 30 seconds, the watchword is innovation. We have to support U46 in the ways they're trying to innovate and other efforts to innovate. The alignment is a perfect example. That could be explained all night, but I only have 30 seconds. There's the early learning up till kindergarten, the career pathway that Anthony talks about. They're going to redo the high schools, do more internships, more apprenticeships, and the other one is dealing with childhood trauma and just the challenges that some of these kids face. So I think we have to support that.
How important is transparency, councilperson decorum, etiquette to the public's perception of the council?
Again, I'll go back to the topic of ClearGov. The city is transparent to the fact that they put everything online in terms of documents for citizens to look at. However, how many of you have time to pour through a 200-page budget document every year and have context injected into those thoughts as you're reading through it? We are in 2019 right now, the amount of technology and for the cost that it would be to the city, to the tune of $11,000 to partner with an organization like ClearGov that instantly shows you how your tax dollars are performing. Not only gives you transparency to how we're performing, but then you can ask appropriate questions to city council people.
Could you repeat that?
How important is transparency, councilperson decorum, and etiquette to the public's perception of the council?
Well, I think transparency is of utmost importance, and our decorum is a direct representation of all of you. So how we are perceived, how we carry ourselves in public, how we interact with business matters and move the city forward is of utmost importance, it being on the city council.
Transparency is obviously paramount. If people feel that you're hiding something or not telling the complete truth, your credibility is down the tubes, and therefore what you're proposing through the council is doomed in one way or the other. I haven't seen any of the council members really have poor decorum, most of the time I guess. But the bottom line is transparency is important, and having information technology improve that would be helpful.
Transparency is very important. When I was going through the 200 pages that Dustin was talking about, I found a few things on the itemized listing that didn't really detail what exactly those tax dollars or that budget went into. So I needed to FOIA it and figure out what exactly within that department those funds were being transferred to. And then I had to FOIA another one to see how those people were doing in their job, to see if their salary was adequate enough. And then for etiquette and for appearance, the first thing I'm going to do if elected is go fix all the pictures coming off the elevator and align them. They're all up and down the zigzag.
Transparency, big buzzword, obviously, in government, local level, state level, and federal level. And I think Elgin has done a decent job in that area, but it's something that's a continuous process. Our budget is obviously our biggest policy document. It is huge, it is complex, and we've had budget sessions on Saturdays to try to get people out to let people get more information. In terms of decorum, it's important, and I look to our mayor to make sure that people conduct themselves properly, because that's his job.
Transparency is critical. I think you've seen that improve within Elgin over the last 4 years. I think also, just even more specifically, even our police department, how critical that is for our police department to be transparent. You know, with the releasing of the body camera so quickly, that was critical for the transparency and the credibility of that department. From just a decorum and how we treat ourselves, or how we respect each other on the council, that's critical. And I take that very seriously, and how I respect others, or the residents that come to speak at those meetings. And that's something that I hold myself to a high regard. It's important for all of us to do that.
So I also think that we've made some strides in the transparency area. We do a lot better with our budget process. As Dustin mentioned, there's some efforts to do like a dashboard. You can pull up something on the website and see red or green or yellow lights, depending on if things are going good, things are going bad, or there's a warning. Just something that simple. Those prototypes have been looked at. We've kind of had some setbacks in doing that. I guess I'm the most quiet guy up on the council. I'm sometimes looking down or close my eyes. That's because I'm listening. I'm trying to listen to what people are saying and take everything in. So that's the way I hold my decorum.
Well, I think I agree with everyone on the value and the need and the importance of transparency. It's been proven with our police department of recent, and it's certainly the same with the city council. As for myself and decorum on the city council, I think I would probably become the most positive, smiling, happy person on that council, because that's the way I live and that's the way I am every day. Monday's my favorite day of the week because I have a whole week of opportunity, and that's how I am, and I hope to be that way on the city council.
Okay, what infrastructure projects do you support, and what should be done to mitigate Elgin's impact on the environment through infrastructure projects?
Okay, well, infrastructure projects, I support all infrastructure projects because that is really something that I can see around Elgin as I'm living in my neighborhood. We have a big project coming up on East Chicago with sewer separation, and that is the type of thing that will increase the value of homes on that street, help transportation, 10,000 cars go down there, and on the environment,
Infrastructure projects are key to the health of the city. Numerous programs exist today that obviously fund or partially fund improvements. I remember years ago the facade improvement project down on Douglas, and it really helped considerably. Sewer separation is a sore subject because of the amount of the cost and the problems that it causes, but it's key to the health of the city, and we should continue that funding through TIF and whatever means elsewhere. Thanks.
I also support these projects because it keeps our city alive, keeps it healthy. One project that I also would like to see is downtown with the internet. We work at the King County State's Attorney's Office. The way our system works is we have when we do criminal histories or any kind of case reporting, it goes from us to EPD, then to the courthouse. So the process, sometimes the internet lags out, goes slowly. But if we get direct lines, fiber optics or some other sort, from us straight to the county, we can process faster and it'll probably bring down budget costs and help our local businesses downtown.
I'm a huge proponent of our infrastructure projects. I think you were looking for one in particular. I can't give you just one, but Chicago Street is high on the list. I was an advocate for doing some improvements on Dundee Avenue, north of Summit. That was probably the only change that we made in our budget this year from when it was originally proposed. Smooth streets make happy residents and good neighborhoods and encourage people to reinvest in their homes. So I think that's important. And our sustainability plan just needs to be followed in terms of how to make those more sustainable. Thank you.
I think infrastructure projects are positive because it impacts us all, and it's positive for all of us, not specific to a homeowner or a neighborhood. A couple years ago, I supported the $25 million bond to issue to jumpstart the backlog of our street repairs that we have. In reality, we're spending probably half, if not less than half, of what we should be spending each year in street repair, but we don't because budgets are tight. That's one of the challenges I called out when meeting with the Daily Herald this year, is that that's going to be something that we will need to continue to address because we're underfunding that program.
Just to pick up where Toby left off, we also lost the luxury of having a riverboat that was giving us at one time almost $30 million a year. Now we're down to about $10 million. So that's cut back on exactly these projects. But some local ones here, we just did this, put the stop sign in just a block away over here on Edison. We have money in the budget this year to redo the South Street, Walnut Street intersection because that's a temporary thing that has to be finalized in some fashion. I support those, and on the sustainability, which hasn't been mentioned much, I'm looking forward to that committee reinvigorating itself and bringing us more ideas. I see that happening.
Certainly the infrastructure projects and involvement, support, and funding is important because of what keeps us moving forward, progress. Bumpy roads don't get me unhappy, but smooth roads make me happier. And as far as the sewer separation, as an example, the one thing people sometimes forget out in the public is that if we don't incur or address part of this new discovered need for health reasons, we might lose a lot of government funding.
So standard infrastructure is obviously a responsibility of the city. We've already talked about that, so I'll move on to the environmental impact. I think it's important that we acknowledge where technology is leading us. We have solar projects that are coming in. The economics make sense with those projects now. It's just going to continue to happen. So we need to intentionally go after developers that want to develop net zero buildings. We need to put things in place to make sure that when the city is building new buildings or infrastructure that we take that into consideration. And we do need to build a fiber optic network. If we want 5G, you have to have a fiber backbone. There's no way around it. The country's behind. We need to make sure that Elgin isn't.
Next question. Would you propose any further gun regulations in the city? So what?
Did you say gun
Gun,
regulations?
any additional gun legislation?
You know, I'm not a big fan of guns, to be honest with you, but I can certainly think that if someone needs to have a gun and needs to go to a shooting range to practice the use of that, that's fine by me. I think what we have in place today is as far as I would go, unless I saw some contrary evidence to that fact. Thank you.
I'm a supporter of this. I like that Illinois finally to consider carry, gives residents and citizens the opportunity to carry a weapon if they want to for self-defense. I also like that they opened up the new gun shop over here, the gun range over on South McLean. Because we used to go to GAT Guns, which is Dundee, so Dundee would be getting all that money and all that revenue. So now we have our local spot where we can go. And I'm a gun supporter.
I know there's been some talk about possibly bringing forth some ordinances to ban bump stops in Elgin. That has not happened yet. I would not be in favor of doing anything before I see exactly what may come out of Springfield with the new governor. I would rather wait to see what happens there because I think regulations like that are best applied statewide. I voted against the gun shop. It's in my neighborhood, and I just thought it was a bad place for it. It did not meet the requirements. Thank you.
So I think it's foolish for local taxing, or local authorities like ourselves to make gun regulations where it really has no impact over the greater community that you live in. So I would not be in favor of that in any way, shape, or form. I was supportive of the local gun owner to come into Elgin, open up shop in McLean. You know, he's a business owner. He has a right to open a business and run his business legally, and so I was supportive of that. But no, local gun regulations, I think, not supportive in any way, shape, or form.
Although I would personally not like guns, I think it's more of a state issue. I think that the state it's something that should be regulated at the state rather than at the local level. One thing I did want to comment on is when it came out from the Aurora shooting that just happened last week that the shooter had a FOID revocation that wasn't followed through on. I immediately got a hold of the city manager and mentioned it quickly to the chief of police who was already on it, but that's an example of existing laws that were not enforced, unfortunately, and that person had a gun. So there's an example of something we can do at the local level.
I'm not a gun fan. I don't own one, with the exception of a 110-year-old dueling pistol that's on display. It was my grandfather's. I was for that gun range because it's a business, and now it doesn't even have the word gun in it. It's aesthetically nice. It's brought in business, revenue. It teaches people. But I also concur with some of the councilmen up here. I don't think it's the city council's place to make that law. I think it's federal.
I'm going to echo what John said. This isn't an issue of creating new rules, new laws. It's just enforcing what's already on the books. It's a tragedy that administrative error or a lack of follow-up through the King County Police Department led to this person who was violent, had a violent history, and they still had a firearm after they flunked one of their own tests. This also is incumbent on us as residents, as citizens, to look out for each other. Maybe the police aren't going to be there. They react more often than not. But if you see something, we need to do a better job of acknowledging when you see disturbing behavior. Let's try and be a community, work together as much as possible.
I recently became aware of a group called Kendall K Moms Demand Action, and they are for common sense gun laws. They're not for, they are for the Second Amendment. They are not in any way trying to take guns away, but they want people to be educated and practice safe gun ownership. So I think as a city councilman, I would work more with groups like that to bring education, and I know they've already met with our Elgin Police. And I did vote for the gun shop on Planning and Zoning Committee. Thank you.
Okay, we're getting down to that time. Last question. Tonight's last question involves Officer Jensen. Incumbents, with the understanding that you must show some constraint as to not place the city in legal jeopardy, please say as much as you can without simply saying you can't comment. The shooting of the Cynthia Clements by Elgin Police Lieutenant Chris Jensen must go through a series of legal investigations. If these investigations find that Lieutenant Jensen did not commit any crime, and the matter of whether or not to reinstate Officer Jensen finally comes before the council in executive session, can you offer any insight as to what would guide your thinking as you discuss this with the council and city manager? You each have 1 minute.
I think it's pretty iconic that I got this question. Growing up over in the Mulberry neighborhood, over here on behind the Elgin Mall, I had a bunch of run-ins with Mr. Jensen. My neighborhood wasn't the nicest, wasn't the cleanest. We had minorities over there. I've personally been harassed and victimized and yelled at and cussed at by this officer. He lost my respect when I was 9 years old. He gained my respect back a little bit as I grew up, but then when I turned 19, he pulled me over again, illegally searched my vehicle. At that time, I didn't know it was illegal because I was a 19-year-old and I didn't know the laws. But after going to school and getting educated, I learned and realized what legal searches are and I don't have probable cause or consent. but not allowed to go inside your car. So I wouldn't want this guy back. He lost the trust of the city, he lost the trust of our community, and if he comes back, he's going to continue doing the same things he was doing before.
I think I've been pretty vocal on this issue. I think it's a matter of public trust. I was the first to advocate for an outside investigation to be done in terms of our internal investigation, that I wanted that done externally so that it is done as objectively as possible, and it sounds like we are moving in that direction. However, at the end of the day, we have to decide whether we want this type of judgment used in our community, and we have to listen to what we're hearing from folks in our community. And I think, as Anthony mentioned, we've heard a lot of people say that they've had bad experiences with him. We've also heard people talk about the pain that they experience and the lack of judgment that they feel that he used in this situation. I think we have to take all of that into consideration as we make our decision. It's not just based on what the Cook County State's Attorney comes out with or what happens in our internal investigation. There's a whole lot of things that you can do that are legal and within the bounds of your rules and regulations that will get you fired. Thank you.
I think I've spoken about this, that I don't feel it's appropriate to make additional comments. I will say what we're doing after this situation. So the police department has worked very diligently to just review their policies and procedures. We've looked at what we're doing to how we deal with folks that do have mental health issues. And I do see us making positive and impactful steps to improve how we do our policing here in Elgin. The other thing I will say is this: it's not all on the City of Elgin's police department as far as our responsibility for dealing with individuals with mental health. And I think that's something that's been lost in this topic as well. That it's all of our responsibility to work with people, to watch out for neighbors, to watch out for others that are around us, that we see situations that look troublesome. We all need to be a part of the solution. I think the Elgin Police Department is doing their part in that, and I think we as a city council are doing our part as well as supporting them through the training that we provide for them.
Well, I tried to answer this question when a similar one was asked, I think the first one. I want to wait till we have both investigations back. I want to see what the evidence shows from those two investigations. I think we owe it to both sides to do that. I think we're going to get a lot more information that will help us understand more fully what happened. I've certainly seen the initial evidence that we have so far, and drawn some preliminary conclusions, but I am waiting until I think it's only the fair thing and the right thing to do to wait until we get all that extra information, more so than the conclusions from the people that are reviewing them. More important than that is getting the information, the statements, the measurements, the diagrams, all this stuff that should come out with some more investigation. We should be able to review all that first. So that's what I'm looking for before making a decision.
Once again, it's a tragedy. It's a tough thing that we're dealing with here. Talking on the side of the officer now, I wonder if anybody here has ever even thought about the fact, do you think he got up that morning and said, I think I'm going to kill someone today? I really don't think so. I'm sure that this is weighing on him and all of his family as it does the other side. Whether he should be brought back truly starts with the Cook County State's Attorney, then it goes to the process. It has to go through those series before a judgment should be made by any council member. But there's some other areas that make me wonder. The fact that the Clements family has a lawsuit against the police department. What if he is found to be not guilty of a crime? Then if he's not put back on the force, then he can sue the police department in the city. So there's a lot of things to look at, and I think there's a lot that's still going to come up. I reserve my judgment until.
Like somebody had said at a city council meeting, Jacinthia deserved to wake up with regret the next day. I know as someone who's not a police officer, I've never been in a combat situation. I don't understand the pressure that these people are in. However, when that night happened, Cynthia was robbed from going through due process, like everyone up here is saying that Officer Jensen deserves. I know this is an unfortunate situation. Again, something that I noticed at the last city council meeting was our police department and the representatives that came to show up for them didn't tout that the city and the police department has been proactive before this incident took place. They went after the body cams. They sought out grant money to get these body cams. There are other communities around here who have purchased the body cams and bailed from the project and put the body cameras in the basement because they knew eventually you have to deal with the fallout from a situation like this. And over the past year, our community has shown that we're able to come together, have tough conversations, and work towards putting proactive measures in place with our police department, and we're going to continue to do that.
I don't know Lieutenant Jensen, and what I'm going to say is hearsay that I've heard, so I can't speak to it from myself. But it's my understanding he was part of the task force that worked in Elgin back in the day of gang activity, large gang activity here, and that he was a contributing member to that. So I'm not sure he made any friends during that period. And as I said before in my opening question, being under pressure and having to make a split-second decision, unless you've been there, I don't think any of us can do it. So I'll reserve my judgment about whether this officer should come back. It is, as Steve said, a tragic situation. And I think as a community, we need to take a deep breath and let's get through it and do the best for all of us.
Pardon me if I'm a little bit repetitive. I do think, again, this is the overused word tragic, but there is no better word, I think. This certainly is a divisive issue. That bothers me deeply to see some of the angst that people are going through on both sides. I really do need to wait for due process to take its course as in regard to Lieutenant Jensen. I need to understand what the details are from the state police report, Cook County State's Attorney, whatever internal or external investigation details are produced. I will do my best as a council member, though, to help heal the divide that will exist no matter what decision is made. And again, I hoped this had never happened, but it did, and we need to move forward in peace and harmony as best we can.
We're down to the last part of the program, and everybody's all anxiously awaiting. I know the council members and delegates up here are. We have now closing statements from each of the candidates, and they have 2 minutes to win us over. We'll start with Ms. Powell.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend tonight's forum. We've heard from all the candidates tonight, and honestly, I'm not sure what you can gather from 30-second answers, but I just want people to know that the decisions that we make as city council members are rarely black and white. They're very complex issues, and they reflect the challenges that we face as a city. But they are equally as complex as the time that goes into examining how we deal with those issues. And while Elgin certainly has its share of challenges, I believe that Elgin has an even greater future and number of opportunities moving forward. My priorities for Elgin are accountability, economic development and job creation, safe and vibrant neighborhoods, and quality services and infrastructure. During the last 8 years, I have proven that I'm not afraid to challenge the status quo when needed, and I believe that I have fought for, I brought a unique and valuable perspective to the City Council. From initiating an ordinance that ensures that Elgin residents are employed on city construction projects, to bringing the 4th of July fireworks back to our town. It's been a source of pride for a lot of people. To spearheading the decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana possession so that our youth in particular aren't saddled with criminal records that could affect their ability to become the productive members of our community. I'm passionate about serving Elgin, and I respectfully ask for your vote in April or during early voting starting March 18th. Thank you.
First of all, thank you to the Wesley Methodist Church for hosting us tonight. I also want to thank the Octave for putting this forum on, and also thank you to you, the citizens of Elgin, for coming out. This is an investment of your time, and it's something that you didn't have to come out. And if you look around, there's not many of you here out of a community of our size, and so I applaud you for coming out. I wanted to touch up on a couple of topics that we didn't get to talk about tonight, and some of the things I'm looking forward to the next 4 years, and some of the risks that I think we have not addressed as well. Some of the things that I'm looking forward to doing the next 4 years is working on some of the technology initiatives we have here in the city of Elgin. I've got 20 years of IT experience in the private market, and looking really forward to moving forward the technology that we have for the city of Elgin, allowing us to be more self-service with a couple of departments, specifically our code, and allowing people to interact more electronically with residents here in Elgin. I think that would make a lot of efficiencies for residents as well as for city staff. Also, I just want to focus on one other thing, the quality of service. Quality of service is important, but it also has to be the value and the price point that we can afford. We talk many times about the police department coming forward with initiatives with the fire department, and sometimes they have ideas where I'm supportive, and sometimes I'm not supportive. And here's the reason why. You can't, service cannot be more expensive than what residents of Elgin are able to pay. We need to look at it and just know what Elgin is made of. We're a blue-collar community. And there's limits to what the residents of Elgin can afford to pay. And we need to be cognizant of that when we make decisions on the city council. Over the last 6 years, I've been a fighter for that. I've been a watchdog for that. And sometimes a lot of that maybe is not made public, but I do a lot of that behind the scenes with working with city staff on budgets before they do become public, working with my fellow members on different initiatives to make sure that my voice is heard. And sometimes it's made in more smaller ways behind the scenes that's not well known. I also want to talk about some of the risks that we have. Our pension liability is still outstanding, as well as some failing infrastructure and some other things that we need to address. On April 2nd, I would appreciate your vote. I also want to talk to you afterwards and get your thoughts on what are the things that we can do in the next 4 years. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Try to do this with 2 hands, sorry. Well, thank you, Octave, and the Wesley Church, and everybody for being here. First of all, this is the first forum kicking off this season. I'm also seeking your vote. April 2nd is the regular election, and I believe early voting started today. If you go down to the county, believe it or not, it's starting as early as today. I'm seeking a 4th term on City Council. I have lived here my entire life. I have decided to come back and make a career here and establish myself here and really get involved. I would suggest that you pick up my piece out and back and see what I've been involved in and what I have been involved in the past. I think that this community has great potential, but I also think we are facing some risks. One of the things I asked is, what do you think about the current budget? I think it's very lean. I think we have to keep it lean. We have to keep it efficient. And it's under threat, as was mentioned by Toby. We have a state government that has to adjust its budget, and we're facing that. As a matter of fact, I've got the budget summary from Governor Pritzker from yesterday, trying to figure out how that is going to affect us at local government. Our income tax share, particularly, and other issues as well. We have to continue to try to catch up on our infrastructure. And Toby touched on that, and that's a dilemma we all face as elected officials. Are we staying ahead of the potholes, or are we falling behind? Are we staying ahead of the sewer separation that we have to do, or are we falling behind? So we constantly have to juggle those issues and make decisions and try to do the best we can. Other things I'm running on is, as Toby mentions, technology. We have kept our staffing level the same, or essentially the same, and it costs us 6% less now than it did in 2006 before the recession. So that's an example of how we're trying to be efficient with your money, get the same amount or more done, city services that you expect, and not charge you more money. And one of the ways we do that is we invest in technology. About 75% of the budget is salaries and personnel. If we can do more with technology, we can avoid running those costs up. So thank you.
Well, Well, first of all, I want to thank Elgin Octave for hosting tonight's forum, and I'm especially appreciative of everyone attending this evening, of you out in the audience. Openness and transparency, we brought that up. It's key ingredients to building accountability and trust. I've spent my career being accountable in the mortgage business and being accountable in more than 24 local clubs, groups, and non-profits in Elgin. I've lived in Elgin my entire life. I've attended our local schools. I went on field trips. I've made friendships that lasted a lifetime. And throughout my lifetime of experiences in Elgin, I've learned what makes our city such an amazing place. Through the years, many people have asked me why I spend so much time volunteering for community causes. And now they ask, why are you running for city council? Well, the answer is the same, and it's a simple one. I want to give back to the city that's given me so much. I've worked with all the people on the current council in one way or another. They're all qualified and dedicated to doing what's best for Elgin. We spent a lot of time tonight answering questions about the issues that Elgin is facing. Now we need to support someone who only is for Elgin. I have no outside agenda. I have no contacts in Springfield. I have no interest in doing anything other than serving the people of Elgin. I'm not beholden to special interest groups. You are my special interests. I want to work to make a great city even greater. I'm a two-time Elgin Image Award winner, a two-time Elgin Mayor's Award winner. I'm a member of the Elgin Heritage Commission. I'm all in on Elgin. My family came to Elgin in 1932. They were part of the city's blueprint from the day they arrived. My entire life, I believe that there's no higher calling than public service, and I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for an opportunity to make a positive difference in your life. I'm asking for an opportunity to help improve Elgin. I promise to be available and accountable. I'm Steve Thorne, running for City Council, the 2-year term. Thank you all.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up. Not only for showing up tonight, but for all the other times that we don't get to see you participating in your community. One of the legs of my campaign is going to be gratuity. I'm just honored to be part of a community that's brought me in, whether that's been at ECC and helped me take risks that I wouldn't have considered myself possible to do. It's been an honor to serve that community. I want to continue stepping forward and serving Elgin. But as somebody that has been at ECC, has worked and was a student from U46, we don't operate in silos. We need people who are going to reach across the aisle, reach out to other taxing bodies, find out where we can collaborate. I mean, that's one of the pillars of our strategic plan is collaboration, and I don't believe that was limited to just within the city. So the other part of my campaign messaging is urgency. Right here in Elgin, we're continuing to grow, but residents are fleeing Illinois. So combine that with the pension issue that we have at the state level, I think everybody here has some familiarity with the amount of money that you're taxed, and we're among some of the highest in the state. So that's why I'm proposing a partnership with ClearGov, because first and foremost, we need to know where we stand. And we all need to know where we stand, not just elected officials who are here part-time. And that will go back to the other point that I made, is that I think we are ready as a city to be represented by full-time employees. Not only for the sake of accountability, but it's not fair to city reps to ask them to do full-time work for part-time. It's not fair to city management to be told, you need to provide risk, or you need to be able to provide bold measures for us to take. Meanwhile, they're called the city manager's office. It's not fair to them. We need city council that is encouraged to do to take on bold measures, but also held accountable for the decisions that they're making. So I hope you reach out to me beyond this. 2 minutes is coming up. Again, my name is Dustin Good, incumbent or a challenger for the 4-year seat, and I hope to get your vote on April 2nd.
Again, my name is Jerry McHugh. I'm a candidate for the 2-year term, and I'm hoping that when you review the things that I am doing right now in Elgin, you will see that I am already entrenched in the process of working at a certain level in the city. I think those things as planning and zoning really prepares me to take on the role of a 2-year city council person, someone who can hit the ground running and be effective from day one. As a registered nurse, I believe in an interdisciplinary approach, and that means taking information from all sides of an issue and coming to a consensus. I bring to you a proven person who has taken a building in this beautiful downtown area. My husband John and I bought the building. We decided a concept for it. We developed the plan. We financed the project. And I think if you've ever been down there, it's the home of Blue Box Cafe right now and Salon Couture. I hope that shows you the commitment that we made to Elgin at that time. So going forward, I think I have a lot of things to offer you. I love the city of Elgin. I've made my home here. And I would love the opportunity to serve as a city council person. So if you'll vote for me on April 2nd for the 2-year seat. Also, I have a website at jerrymchugh.com. It gives the full story. You can take longer than 2 minutes to read it, I promise you. And I have a Facebook page, Jerry McHugh for Elgin. I'm not a great Facebooker, so don't expect a lot of bedazzle there. But if you could at least go and read my story, and if you'd like to chat about anything, I'm available. Thank you.
I too want to thank Wesley Church and Octave and all of you for coming out. It's kind of sad to realize sometimes that there aren't a lot of folks that vote in these consolidated municipal elections, roughly 7,000 or so each year. I was hoping that it would be more this year, and let's hope it will be. Talk to your neighbors and friends. It's important to vote. You know, I'm running for the City Council to hopefully complement the talent that remains on the council and also to bring in some fresh perspectives. I really think that there are some key challenges that we need to face going forward. The proper staffing of the Elgin Fire Department and some other staffing issues within the city that I think need to be addressed. Infrastructure was something I ran on in 2015. We are far behind in repairing and replacing our streets, and of course our sewer separation projects are ongoing. There was a time in 2015 when some candidates running at that time proposed that we do a proactive infrastructure program to fill cracks and other things that would prolong the life of the city streets. That never happened, but if I was on the council, I would try to get that going for us. I am on the Park and Recreations Board almost for 3 years now, and I have found that extremely enlightening, serving with people like Carol and other folks that are on the Parks and Recreation Committee. I have literature in the back. You can contact me via email or via Facebook, and please do. I always respond, even if I don't like what you're asking me. And I do appreciate your time, your patience, and I would appreciate your vote on April the 2nd. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Anthony again. I believe that I will bring leadership, battle-tested leadership to the Elgin City Council. Leadership that I value dearly. One aspect of it is courage. Courage is something a person needs to stand up for what's wrong when their people are wrong, or policies or laws that only affect a certain individuals. I also believe integrity is a strong character of leadership also. If you have integrity and your people trust you, and your citizens trust you, them themselves are going to start doing integrity. They'll stop lying, start being more truthful, and that by itself will better our community. As you guys know, I've been stressing is about our youth. We need more money budgeted towards them. I'm going to donate my salary to a non-for-profit, if not start my own, so I know exactly where those funds are going. And everything I've done in life, I've succeeded. I've never failed at anything. I was failing at high school, ain't gonna lie, but I ended up graduating from Elgin on time with 40 credits. I went to the Marine Corps, I beat all that, went to Afghanistan, came back, finished college, 3 years for a 4-year degree. I've done a lot of things. I've never failed at life. And I've heard a lot of people say love. Love is an emotion. Love changes. I'm loyal to the city. Loyalty is an action. Loyalty is something that you can show when you do it. Love, you can tell somebody you love them 1 minute and turn around the next minute and talk about them. But loyalty is forever, and loyalty is shown. And if everybody's plugging their social medias, I'm going to plug mine. You guys can find me on Facebook, It's Anthony Ortiz, ECC altogether, if you search it, or you can just search Anthony Ortiz for Elgin City Council. And I hope you guys vote Anthony Ortiz on April 2nd or March 18th over at the Elgin Township. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause for all of these. We thank them for giving their time because we know what a commitment is to the community when they take the sacrifice just to run in the first place, but then to serve in our community and be our delegates, anything that comes before the city. They have literature in the back. Please stop back there and pick that up. We're going to take a 10-minute break because I know you're getting tired of sitting, and we'll reset the room for the mayor's debate coming up. Thank you.